Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm gonna do a real quick introduction of myself before I get into the subject matter of what this video is about. So, my name is Duran. I'm 38 years old. I just retired from doing 20 years in the military, on the Army. Living on the East Coast. I've lived in Germany, Alaska, North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia. Deployed 4 times to Afghanistan. I had a very successful career. And during my time in the Army, I experienced sleep paralysis. I've experienced astral projection. And I think I've been keen to a lot of spiritual things throughout my entire life. And I just wanted to get involved more because it's still happening. I wanted to get involved more and see, what this community can offer, any answers, any more information about this, because there's not a lot of information about astral projection or lucid dreaming out there that isn't ridiculed or seen as what they call dream hallucinations or things of that nature. So I believe that it's real. I can't prove that it's real. I can only tell you my experiences. So I'm gonna take it all the way back to 2010, and this is when I had my first experience of lucid dreaming and sleep paralysis. Okay. So when I began my lucid dreaming journey, I bought a book. I can't remember the title of the name, but I think it was called Exploring Lucid Dreaming or something like that. Now I remember the author. The author's name was Stephen LeBurge. So if you look that up, you should be able to find the same book. So throughout the book, it tells you techniques and things that you can do to help yourself induce lucid dreaming. So throughout the day, it explained throughout the day in the book. In the book, it explained that throughout the day, ask yourself if you are dreaming. So the reason that you ask yourself is because you will get into a habit of asking yourself throughout the day if you're dreaming. So if you're doing that throughout the day, a lot of times subconsciously that'll carry over into your dream, right? So after that, you would have to do what was called a dream move. Now, a dream move could be anything that you want it to be. Mine was simply just looking at my watch, right? So at the time, I had a digital watch, and it gave an example of what will happen. So if you were to look at your watch in your dream and it looks the same, you would look at it again, and if it looks different, then you would know that you're dreaming. So I use that. But before I get into that, you would also have to set an alarm at least 5 or 6 hours before you actually wake up. Record your dream that you had if you can remember it, then try to go back to sleep and induce lucid dreaming. So I did that. And quite a few times I failed because once I got into the dream and I realized that I was lucid, I got excited. And when they get excited, the dream is over. So the trick is to remain calm and try to manipulate the dream world, for lack of a better term. So I began to understand, how I should act once I'm in the dream world. And I think I got to a point where I could actually move and walk around, but it didn't last that long. So I want to say that only happened maybe 2 or 3 times. It wasn't a lot. I think I went a month or two of waking up and recording my dreams, doing the dream moves, asking myself if I was dreaming, and it just really wasn't working out that well. So I started to, lose hope on it a little bit until one morning I woke up dead, and it had to be maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, and I couldn't move. And this was when I experienced sleep paralysis. Now, this scared the shit out of me because nowhere in the book did it say that at any time you would experience sleep paralysis, right? So I remember laying in bed and hearing a buzzing kind of sound, but it wasn't external. It was more like coming from inside, more so the back of my head, like where that bone is on your skull, right at the base of your neck. It felt like it was originating from that area, right? And the louder it would get, the more intense the pressure would be on my body. It was like someone was pressing down on me. So the louder the noise was, the more intense the pressure was. When it lessened up, when the volume decreased, it would decrease. So, I'm laying in bed and I'm in the barracks. I'm a single soldier. And I'm like, is someone playing a joke on me? Am I getting ready to get kidnapped by aliens? What the fuck is going on? So I remember getting up, looking around my room, checking to see, if anybody was in there or what was going on. But that didn't make sense because, I had a room to myself, had the lock on the door, and there was another door to get into the common area to lead to your individual rooms. So I'm like, there's no way there's anybody in here. Is it a spirit? Is it a ghost or what? I don't know. So I then decided that this probably isn't for me. So I'm just going to, not deal with this anymore. So I threw the book away. I remember calling my mother, telling her about it. And, like most older Black folk, it's always the devil. It's the devil. It's you need to pray. You need to go to church. And that's exactly what I did, right? So I remember looking for a place to start going to church. And eventually I did. Ended up going to church, getting baptized, and, living a life for, God, for to summarize it all up. But sleep paralysis was continuing to happen. Like it wasn't just something that was going to go away overnight. So there were a few times where I would feel like my body was moving. Sometimes it felt like there was a presence in the room, but I never saw anything. I never saw any movement or any shadows or anything that I could say was some sort of entity. Never saw anything. Now, I would hear noises. I would hear doorbells. I would hear knocking, and it would always be 3 knocks like that, right? And the first time I astral projected, I didn't know what astral projection was. Now I'm still in my room, my barracks room at the time, and I remember leaving my body, and the way that my room was set up was I had a twin size bed, and it was up against a wall near the window. And I remember turning, like during astral projection, what I know now was actually astral projection, but I thought it was a dream. I remember turning around and looking at my body still in the bed. And it felt like something was pulling me back to my body by my neck, like pulling me back. And that was the first time that I had experienced astral projection. So after that, I continued to leave it alone. And as I began to get more involved in church, I started sharing people my experiences. And so one thing that I found out was a lot of Christians were experiencing the same thing. And they were saying that when this happens, call on the name of Jesus and it will stop immediately. And it did. When it would happen, I would call on the name of Jesus, either silently, because a lot of times, when you're in sleep paralysis, you can't move, you can't speak. Only thing you can do is just kind of look around, right? So I would think the name Jesus and it would stop. Sometimes it would stop immediately. Sometimes it would take, a couple seconds before it would stop, but it would eventually stop. So from 2010 to 2023, 13 years, it was a constant battle of going to sleep and knowing that I'm going to experience sleep paralysis at some point. And I never thought about, going deeper into it. I never thought about why it was happening. I just knew what happened, and I thought it was just a part of my life because of the book that I read, and that, maybe this is just something that I open myself up to that won't go away. So this all led, the whole reason why I'm making these videos now is because of this one situation I'm about to tell you guys. So this was about October 2023. Now I was PCSing to Germany. And at the time I was at my in-laws, my wife's cousin I was at my parents' house. And, visiting family before we fly over to Germany. And, throughout the entire time of me experiencing sleep paralysis for those 13 years, it got to a point where I would ignore it. Like it didn't scare me as much anymore. I wasn't afraid. Like I said, it was just part of life. So when it would happen, a lot of times I would just be like, okay, here we go. Let's wait this shit out. Or try to call on the name of Jesus and it would go away. So this one particular morning, this was right around September, October 2023, right? Now I'm in bed and oftentimes it would happen early in the morning. So when I wake up, the room is full of light because the sun is up and I can't move. So I'm like, okay, here we go. But this time, I feel it seemed like there was a presence in the room besides my wife laying next to me. So I open my eyes to look around and I don't see anything. So when I close my eyes, there is this red orb, right? And the majority of the orb was red, but on the outside of it, it was kind of bluish purple, kind of like a mix of colors, but it was majority red. And it would start to pulsate, like kind of vibrate, right? And when it did, the intensity of sleep paralysis, if you ever experienced sleep paralysis, that pressure that you feel when you can't move, when the orb vibrated or pulsated, the intensity increased. So that never happened those 13 years. That was the first time that happened. Freaked me out, right? So at the time thinking like, what was that? What could this be? What does it mean? Um, and why is it happening now? Right? After so many years. So a good friend of mine by the name of G, I'll just name him. I'll just call him G. We share a lot of the same similarities because we're all in the military. We're both in the military, stationed together at one point. Similar interests in, spiritual things of that nature. And at the time, I felt like he was probably the only person I could share that with. So I told him about it, and he let me know that he knows a woman that does tarot reading. Now, immediately, all my red flags are going off because I'm just like, tarot reading, seems like more of a scam to me, right? Because anyone can, take an educated guess on things that are going on with you. You have financial issues, health issues, relationship issues, any of those big three, right? And they can take an educated guess. And if you're feeling vulnerable, more than likely you're just going to answer for them, right? So I was skeptical, and he said, just give her a call. I think she was out of Queens, New York. And, just give her a call and see what she has to say. And that he wasn't going to tell her anything that I told him, except for the fact that he had a friend that needed some help, right? So I call her. I wait a few days, and that is when I call her. About 3 or 4 days later. So I'm listening to her. She's in the background. It sounds like she's like washing dishes or something. And so I tell her just basically what happened. I don't give her the whole history of the 13 years of experiencing sleep paralysis, me reading the book of lucid dreaming, none of that. I just give her the story of what happened to me that morning. I saw the red orb, the pulsating orb, and how the pressure of sleep paralysis kept intensifying, right? So I hear her over the phone. I hear her shuffling the cards, and I hear her go, Then she starts shuffling the cards again. And she asked me, I believe she asked me, what is your zodiac sign? Like, what day were you born? Do you remember if it was the daytime or during the night? What state? Like, all these questions that I wasn't really understanding why she was asking me that. Some of the questions I didn't have answers to, like I don't know what time of day I was born on, but she said it was okay. So I keep hearing her say, She says that this is something that's been happening to you for quite some time, and you are afraid of it. Now that piqued my interest, right? But I'm still not trying to give her too much because I'm like, maybe my friend told her, exactly what I told him. So she's like, you have a gift. And when it happens to you, you keep fighting it. So at this point, I'm like, okay, what is the gift? She's like, well, when you experience sleep paralysis, it's not what you think. So the next time you experience it, you should relax. And I said, well, for the most part, I am relaxed. She's like, no, you're still in a state of fear because of, you don't know what it is. But she asked me, like, do you take any drugs? I'm like, of course not. I'm in the Army. I can't do any illicit drugs, legally. I'll get in trouble for it. Then she said, okay, so you're not doing any drugs. You're not doing any drinking. There's no gas leak or any other thing that could make you think that you're seeing these things. So what is happening to you is natural. it's your body doing it on its own. So why are you afraid of it? Now, when she said that, then I was like, okay, maybe she's on to something because it had been so long since I practiced, the techniques from the Lucid Dreaming book, and I threw the freaking book away. Why would it still be happening to me, right? So I kept that in mind, and I paid her for her services. I think it was like $50, and I just kept it in mind because it was like that's interesting. I never thought of it that way. So on our way to Germany, I've always had, I ain't gonna say always, but my time in the Army has made my sleep very bad. Like I struggle to go to sleep and stay asleep. So going to Germany, I think it was a 10-hour flight from DC to, I think we flew to Frankfurt. So my jet lag was really bad, and my sponsor came to pick us up, and we got our home, and in the home is loaner furniture, very uncomfortable old mattresses. We don't have any comforters, no pillows, nothing. So I'm struggling to go to sleep already on being having bad jet lag, right? So this was the first time I astral projected, and I'm gonna leave that for the next episode.